and that made an impression upon me. So without further ado, let's welcome this wonderful devotee and pay attention. Haribol.
Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam Pangam langhayate girim Yat kripatamaham bande Paramananda madhavam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Trinadapi Sunichena Torarapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Nama Kevalam Kalo Nastyeva 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 Gatiranyata. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jai Advaita Gadadhara Srivasa Adigo Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome everybody. You are now in the spiritual world. Prabhupada's temples are known as embassies of the spiritual world. Here, there is no anxiety. Here, there is no envy, no jealousy. Here is over the rainbow. Yes. Here is where you can be happy. You just have to allow yourself. The name of my lecture today is called It's Up to You What You Want to Do. Some of you know a devotee that sometimes comes here. His name is Titikshava-karunika Dasa. He has written many nice songs explaining Krishna consciousness. And I'm going to sing just one verse of his songs with kartals, not with guitar. And it will lead into, the class is basically from the Bhagavad-gita. So let's first invoke auspiciousness. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Pretty good, pretty good. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishna spoke to Arjuna on the battlefield where the import of the Vedas was revealed. He told him that his duty was to stand and fight, explaining confidential knowledge and what was right. He said, it's up to you what you wanna do. Let's see if you can sing that with me. You know it's up to you. Come on. What you wanna do. Let's do it one more time. 1, 2, 3. You know it's up to you. What you wanna do. Yathecchasi. Tathā, kuru. Can you do that? Yathecchasi. tathā kuru. So he has written many other verses, but that's the signature verse. So this line, yathecchasi tathā kuru, is from the Bhagavad-gita. And for me personally, it is a very significant line. Leading up to that verse, which we find towards the end of Bhagavad-gita, Krishna first says, in this 18th chapter, Ishvara sarvabhutanang hriddeshe arjun tishtati brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. Krishna tells Arjuna, the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart. Now here, Krishna is referring to himself in the third person, because Krishna is that Supreme Lord in everyone's heart. And he is directing all the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of material energy. So this is consistent with what Krishna said in the beginning. You're not your body. You're not your mind. Just as you're not your Tesla or your Mercedes or whatever car you drive. That's not you. If I came up to you and said, oh, hi Toyota, you would say, what's with this guy? But that's what we're doing in this material world, addressing each other in terms of this machine, yantra. But what is being explained is that there is a soul, and the soul is seated on this machine. Then in the next verse, Tam eva sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat parang shanting sthanam prapsyasi shasvatam. O Arjuna, scion of Bharat, surrender unto him utterly. So who's that him? Krishna in the heart. And by his grace, you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme eternal abode. So now comes the verse of today's class. Iti te jnanam akyatang guyad guyatarang maya vimushyaitad asheshena. Now please repeat. Yathecchasi tathā kuru. If you want to learn something, you repeat it. Let's do it 2 more times. Yathecchasi tathā kuru. Now let's see if you can do the whole line. Yathecchasi tathā kuru. Very good. We have learned 1 line of Bhagavad-gita. And just by learning 1 line, you can achieve perfection. So what does Krishna say? Thus, I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully, and then do what you wish to do. So, after this, then comes the conclusion of Gita. Mammana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mam evaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. This verse was also mentioned at the end of chapter 9. So Krishna in that verse says, just think of me. Become my devotee. Worship me and bow down to me. In this way, you will come to me. And then comes the famous verse, Saradamman parityajya Mam ekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvang sarvapapyebhyo mukshayishyami ma shuchaha. Arjuna, Krishna says, give up all varieties of what you think is religion. Abandon everything that you think you should do. What should you do? Just surrender to me. And then, what does Krishna say? Because there may be some doubt. If I surrender to Krishna, what about this? What about this? What about this? Krishna says, no. If you think that there is some reaction, some sinful reaction by surrendering to me, don't worry. I will protect you. I will deliver you. Moksha. I will liberate you. And then comes two words. Please repeat. Ma shucha. That has three meanings. Don't hesitate. Don't worry. Don't fear. In Spanish, there is this phrase. Ahora mismo. Now. Do it now. That is the implication here. Krishna is saying, now is the time to surrender. So, Prabhupada, I've selected just certain parts of purports. So in this verse, yathecchasi tathā kuru, Prabhupada comments, here the words, yathecchasi tathā kuru, as you like, you may act, indicate that God does not interfere with the little independence of the living entity. So this for me is very significant. We have minute, poquito pequeño independence. We have a little bit of free will. Not unlimited. No, sorry. That's not, no es posible. No. We have minute. So, we should now understand this concept completely. And I've selected some verses and some purports by Prabhupada. Of course, this reminds us of how important this verse from chapter 4. Ye tang mang prapadyante tang stataiva vajamyaham mama vartman vartante manushya parata sarvashaha. In chapter 4, Krishna told Arjuna, you know what? My path is actually the only path. And as living entities, souls, surrender to me, I reward them. So, we are not all in all. It's not that we are in control of everything, no. We have a little bit of independence and free will. So, this discussion opened with Krishna pointing out that we should surrender to Him who's situated in the heart. So, in the Bhagavad-gita, we get some understanding of the function of Krishna in the heart. In chapter 13, there are many verses which describe the Param Atma, the super soul, God in the heart. This verse from chapter 13. Upadrastanumantacha bharata bhokta maheshwaraha paramet miti chap yukto dehesmin purusha para. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, who is the supreme proprietor, who exists as Upadrashta, the observer, and Anumanta, the permitter. That is the supersoul. So, We are doing so many things in our lives. We are endeavoring for so many fulfillment of desires. But this verse here, Krishna is saying, keep in mind, I am witnessing everything that goes on. Krishna sees. I always like to mention, when I was a little boy, every Christmas they would sing this bhajan. He knows when you are sleeping. He knows. I used to think it was silly. But then when I read Bhagavad-gita, that's what they were really talking about. Not some Santa Claus, some figment of somebody's imagination, some conspiracy theory. No. That person who sees everything, that is Krishna in the heart. Therefore, don't worry. Because I get this question sometimes. Prabhu, my neighbor, he doesn't go to temple, he doesn't do anything, he drinks, he smokes, and he's living lavish life, enjoying, he's got 10 cars and a big house. Prabhu, I barely can make ends meet and pay the rent. Why doesn't Krishna smash him? Yes, I had to answer this once. And I said, Krishna does not work on my time schedule. Krishna has his own time schedule. So I told my friend, I said, Prabhuji, don't worry. Eventually, the bill has to be paid. And every one of us, there's a song, nobody gets out alive. Yes. The day will come, regardless. They'll have to pay what they owe, their karmic bill. We have seen it. Kamsa, Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, they were allowed to go on for some time, but then the day came, everything finished. So don't worry. This guy, this rascal, don't worry. They'll be dealt with. I just have to worry about moi. I just have to worry about me, not somebody else. I got my own problems to deal with. Prabhupada, in this verse, explains this idea of free will and how everything is dependent on the sanction of Krishna in the heart. Because the Paramatma is the Supreme Lord, He is present within to sanction the individual soul's desiring material enjoyment. Without the sanction of the Supreme Soul, the individual soul cannot do anything. The individual is bhukta, or the sustained, and Krishna, the Super Soul, is bhokta, or the maintainer. So bhukta and bhokta. We are bhukta, and Krishna is bhokta. There are innumerable living entities, and Krishna is staying in each of them as their dearmost friend. And that was mentioned at the end of chapter 5 of Bhagavad-gita. Prabhupada called it the peace formula. Bhoktaram yagyatapasang sarvaloka maheshwaram. Here's the line. Suhriddam sarva bhutanam. Krishna said that I am the enjoyer, I am the proprietor, I am the controller, but Suhriddam sarva, that Krishna said, I am everyone's dearmost friend. Why? He's in your heart. You may have a wife or a good friend or a husband, right? But they can only get this close. Oh, they can get in the mind. Yes. Wives have a habit of doing that. They get in there. So, they can only get so far. But the wife, the husband, cannot get deep. That's reserved for Krishna. And how else is Krishna everyone's dearmost friend? Because that same Krishna has been with you life after life after life, and will always be with you until you go back home, back to Godhead. The goal of this movement is for us to go back to Godhead. I love that term, back. Because if I was never there, how could I go back? Right? The very use of Prabhupada using the word back indicates we were once there. And that is mentioned so many times by Prabhupada in his books. Originally, we were with God or Krishna. But what happened? Misuse of that minute free will. That will be explained. Just hold that thought. The fact is that every individual living entity is eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And both of them are very intimately related as friends. So that's something to think about. God, Krishna, in my heart, is my intimate friend. But the living entity has the tendency to reject the sanction of the Supreme Lord and act independently in the attempt to dominate nature. So that's why we're here. Everyone in this material universe, from Lord Brahma down to the microscopic germ, has the same intention. How can I dominate? How can I control? How can I exploit everything? That's the mentality of the conditioned soul. And because the living entity has this tendency, we are called Jiva Atma, the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord. The living entity can be situated either in this material energy or the spiritual energy. As long as one is conditioned by the material energy, the Supreme Lord, as the friendly super soul, stays with us just to get us to return to the spiritual energy. So that's why Krishna accompanies us life after life. Just like parents, here you have young child, correct? So you love your child, you will do anything to protect this child, yes? Yes, that's a mother's nature. So Krishna, in the same way, always is looking out for our interests, but he does not interfere with your free will. We have an expression. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't not necessarily make the horse drink. Krishna is doing everything to get us to return, but we're stubborn. Yeah, Krishna, maybe later. I've heard this one. I'll tell you a story. I was preaching in Panama many years ago. So I went to this shop. I used to visit there's this place in Panama called the Free Zone. So all these shops were owned by Hindus and Arabs and Jews and others. They owned all these shops. So I would go to the Hindu shops and I would give blessings. So there was this one character. He was an interesting personality. And he was so, I don't know what the word, anyway, he was bragging. Oh, Prabhu, I love to drink liquor. And I was going, why is he telling me this? Oh, Prabhu, I love to watch the dancing girls, the young dancing girls. And I said, you come from Hindu culture. You know these things are wrong. You know you should give these up. When are you going to give them up? Now, keep in mind, he was 70 years old, okay? So, when I asked him, so, when will you give these up? Oh, when I'm old. That's called Maya. He's 70 years old, and he's thinking, I'm not old. Just see. I can still picture his face. Krishna is always eager to take us back to spiritual energy. But due to our minute independence, we are continually rejecting the association of such spiritual light. This misuse of independence is the cause of our material strife in this conditioned nature. Krishna, therefore, is always giving instruction from within and without. From without, Krishna gives instructions as stated in Bhagavad-gita. So, how many people read Bhagavad-gita? Every day? Very good. Excellent. Bravo. Yes. Excellent. And from within, Krishna tries to convince the living entity that our activities in the material world are not conducive to real happiness. Because if you study Bhagavad-gita, we learn that any material happiness is temporary and limited. If we want real, now when he says real happiness, that means happiness that's unlimited and happiness which goes on forever. That's happiness, not temporary. So that real happiness, that is found in Krishna consciousness. Just give it up and turn your faith towards me. Then you will be happy, Krishna says. So as that devotee mentioned that I had spoken once, how joining the movement was the best decision I ever made in my life. Yes, it was based on this understanding. Krishna says, just turn your faith towards me, then you will be happy. Now, it's more than 45 years. That day was 1973, so you can do the calculation. And yes, my investment turned out to be correct. Do I look happy? Yes. Only because of surrendering. No, I don't want to be proud. I am trying to surrender. Yes. It would be presumptuous of me. I have surrendered to Krishna. Nah. Trying, working on it. Yes. Then, of course, we want more information about Krishna in the heart. A verse very famous in Bhagavad-gita. Savasya chaham hridisani vishna matak smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Krishna told Arjuna, remembrance, that comes from me because I'm in your heart. I am also causing you to forget. That's why sometimes, where are my glasses? Where are my glasses? Huh? And then I start chanting Hare. Oh. There's my glasses. But until I chanted, I was looking here, there, and everywhere. I have so much experience of this. Just pray to Krishna, the answer will come. And Krishna says, from me comes understanding, knowledge. And why? He's in the heart. Now, in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, there's a very important verse. Now, of course, yes, every verse of Bhagavad-gita is important. But some, depending on your individual situation or your life, you may find certain verses are more important to you. I have several of those. Some verses, for me personally, they carry a lot of weight. So this one from chapter 5. Naddate kasyachit papang nachaiva sukritang vibhu agyanena vritang jnanam tena huhyanti jantavaha. Nor does the Supreme Lord accept responsibility for anyone's sinful or pious activities. I have another story about that. One time, many years ago, I was doing a program in somebody's home. I gave the lecture, we had kirtan, we did arti, then it came for my favorite part, you know what that is? Prashadam. Right? My favorite words. Sharira Vijada. Oh, hi, Haribo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sharira Vijada. Oh, okay. Yes. So, during Prasadam, one man, he was talking to me, and so in the course of our conversation, I was saying, so, when are you going to surrender to Krishna? And what was his response? Oh, when Krishna makes me. You've heard this, right? Yes, very common. Oh, when Krishna makes me, then I'll... I said, no, that doesn't work like that. That he was insistent. No, when Krishna makes me. That means he didn't understand this concept. Yathecchasi, tathā, kuru. Krishna doesn't force anyone. No, Krishna wants us to voluntarily come to him. Krishna does not want robots. I will chant Hare. That's why you'll never have a robot doing the arti. No. No. It has to be a person. And it has to be done out of free will, out of love. Without free will, you can't use this word, love. So the Supreme Lord does not accept responsibility for anyone's sinful or pious activities because we create our own destiny. Not that Krishna creates it, we create it. What is life? Life is simply a series of choices, moment-to-moment choices. Today, you made the best choice that you could have made today. Instead of watching the TV, instead of going to the sport event, you decided, I will come here. And you are hearing the tathā of Krishna. Therefore, you are being blessed simply by hearing these words. You are being blessed. Okay. Now, in the Bhagavatam, so that is my Bhagavad-gita research. So in the Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj asks Shukadeva Goswami, how is it that the living entity, the soul, has come to this material world? So Shukadeva Goswami answers him, Atma mayam rite rajan parasyanu bhavatmanaha na gate tarta sambandha swapna drastur ivanjasa. So that word, swapna, dream. Shukadeva Goswami said, O King Parikshit, unless one is influenced by the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no meaning to the relationship of the pure soul in pure consciousness with the material body. That relationship is just like a dreamer seeing one's own body working. So, there are many verses in the Bhagavatam. There's a whole list of verses which makes comparison that material existence is no different from the kind of dream we have at night. I did all the research once. There are so many verses, especially in the Bhagavad-gita of 11th canto. Repeatedly, Krishna is telling Uddhava, material existence is a dream. Material existence is a dream. So in the dream, we are seeing, right? I'm being chased by a tiger, or I am flying. Those are my favorite dreams. Anybody have flying dreams? Yes, right? They're great, aren't they? Yes. Oh. But then you wake up, it was only a dream. Same way. Apart from this now, today, here, this is not a dream. This is real. This katha, this kirtan, and especially the prasad, that is real. That's not a dream. When you take prasad, that's real. Okay? But any kind of material activity, that is all part of the dream. Shukadev continues, Bahurupa ivabati mayaya bahu rupaya vamamano gunesh asya mamaham iti manyate. The illusioned living entity appears in so many forms offered by the external energy of Krishna. Yes, we have had so many bodies. There are 8,400,000 choices of bodies. Now we are fortunate. There is one shloka, Sudurlabha. Human birth, very rarely gotten. Very rare. Sudurlabha. Durlabha means difficult to achieve, and Sudurlabha, very difficult. So, now that we understand, I have this human body, this is a special opportunity. Therefore, we should take full advantage. We should not waste this opportunity. We should maximize everything in this life that we have now to realize Krishna. And while enjoying in the modes of material nature, the engaged living entity misconceives, thinking in terms of I and mine. So this is something that is taught in Gita and is taught in the Bhagavatam. That this conception of I and mine is also part of the dream. Because nothing is mine, because everything belongs to? I didn't hear that. Krishna. Thank you. Very good. Everything belongs to Krishna. This face I see in the mirror and I go, that came from Krishna. Of course, I made the choice. I made the decisions. That's why I was born how I was born. But it's not that I myself, no. Everything is Krishna's energy. We learned that from Bhagavad-gita. Everything is in Bhagavad-gita. Would you agree? That's why you read it every day. Everything is in this Gita. Many, many years ago, I got a realization. By studying Prabhupada's lectures, studying his books, so many time after time after time after time, Prabhupada is quoting Bhagavad-gita. Why? Because it's the foundation. It's the foundation of the preaching of Krishna consciousness. Learn Bhagavad-gita as well as you know your cell phone. Yes, you should learn Bhagavad-gita that well. Right. I remember, Badri Maharaj, you remember, right? When we joined in the 70s, right? We didn't go anywhere without our beads. We went to the store, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We were afraid of falling into Maya. And then there's that famous story. One of Prabhupada's disciples said, Prabhupada, I'm sorry. I fell into Maya. Prabhupada said, no, you're always in Maya. Sometimes you fall into Krishna. Yes. So, when we first joined, we always had our beads. But now, what's happened? Everything is, where's my phone? We take it everywhere I go. So I was thinking, I should be even more attentive having this with me. Everybody chant, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then, the third verse, Yahi Baba Mihimne Swe, Parasmin Kala Mayayo, Rameta Gata Sammohas, Chakvodaste Tado Bhayam. As soon as the living entity becomes situated in one's constitutional glory and begins to enjoy the transcendence which is beyond time and material energy, one at once gives up the two misconceptions of I and mind and thus becomes fully manifest as the pure self. So we are trying to get to that stage. This is self-realization. Self-realization means, who am I eternally? Yes, in this life, I'm the rock star, Nirantara Dasa. But what's going to happen in the next life? We don't know. Right? Can anybody guarantee, yes, I know exactly where I'm going after death? Anyone who says they do, really, I got a bridge to sell you. Yes. We don't, nobody knows. We try our best. We're hoping for the best. We're doing everything we can. But the result, we don't know exactly. So enjoy the transcendence, yes. How do you enjoy the transcendence? You enjoy the transcendence by rendering bhakti, devotional service. Anyone who has objectively studied Bhagavad-gita impartially, there can only be one conclusion. If you want to see God, bhakti. If you want to know God, bhakti. If you want, as I said before, go back to God, bhakti. Sorry, there are no alternatives. Bhagavad-gita is clear. Bhakti, bhakti, bhakti. Devotional service. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who so kindly here in this temple, so brilliantly shining along with his brother Nityananda Prabhu, they have their hands raised and they're asking everyone, please join us. Please chant. Everybody, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When you render devotional service, beginning with hearing. That's why this Sunday class is muy importante. Yes, everything starts from hearing. Think about it, even on the material plane. All kinds of political movements and changes, it all starts with hearing from some authority. And what happens? Little by little, people are convinced. So this hearing process, Lord Chaitanya says, hearing and chanting. Yes, there are 9 different processes, but these first 2 are the most important, hearing and chanting. That's why I like to recite these Sanskrit shlokas. My god brother here, he was in the temple before me in Brooklyn. He saw me walk in the door. And in japa class in the morning, we would be pacing up and down in the Henry Street Temple. And everybody had their lane. Somebody would be in this corner of the... Because it was a small little temple room. And there were dozens and dozens of devotees. Especially somebody new, Bhakta Nick. Yeah, you had to be careful. So, there was this one devotee, you know him, Pushkar Das. And he'd be chanting japa, then every so often, he'd pull out these index cards. So I went over to him. Prabhu, what are you doing? He said, I am memorizing Bhagavad-gita shlokas. So he said, the way to memorize shlokas is to chant it again and again and again and again and again. So I picked that up from my good friend Pushkar. So I would go on the subways to distribute books and collect donations. I got my own index cards, and I started to pick out certain verses of the Gita that I liked. And that's how I learned, simply by repeating and repeat. And if you read Prabhupada's books scrutinizingly, you'll see certain verses Prabhupada quotes again and again and again. One of my friends, he said he did a research. Does anybody know that Bhagavad-gita verse Prabhupada quoted the most? Chapter 7, verse 1, according to this Indian devotee's research. The most quoted verse Prabhupada used in his lectures was 7:1. So, these shlokas are to be chanted, memorized, and put into practice. So, in this understanding, someone may come up with the question, why are we here? Why isn't this material world heaven? Why do we have to experience pain and suffering and all kinds of miseries? Right now, California, we're running out of water. So there's a big scare. The farmers are worried. You know, the city people are taking our water here. So there could be water wars coming to a theater near you. Yes. Things are getting pretty scary out there. So, this world, this life is not heaven. We have so much suffering. So some people, they become angry with God. I don't like God. He creates this material world for suffering. But they don't get the whole picture. The whole picture is presented in Prabhupada's books, especially in this section here of the second canto, chapter 9. So originally, we were with God. We were in heaven. It's called Vaikuntha, the place where there is no anxiety. Like I said in the beginning, here, this is an embassy of the Spirit. Anybody feel anxiety right now? Maybe you're hungry. Okay, I'm ending soon. Don't worry. Everything is, time restricted. It's not that I'm going to go on for 8 hours. Just 10 minutes more. Hang on there. I'm also hungry, so don't worry. So we were already in heaven. But misuse of free will. What happened? Inconceivably, one day the thought came, what would it be like to be Krishna? And as soon as that happens, Krishna says, oh, you want to be me? You want to feel what it's like to be me? Okay, I'll fulfill your desire, but not here. Because in my home, in my abode, nobody else agrees. But you want to imitate me? Fine. I'll create something, a playpen. It's called San Diego. Go. Try to enjoy. Try to be happy. Try to be me. Try to dominate. Try to enjoy, imitate me. Good luck. But not only that, guess what? Like when I was taught the Bible from a young age, Adam and Eve were kicked out of the Garden of Eden for the same reason, misuse of free will. Right? God gave them one commandment, don't eat the fruit. And they did. They misused their free will. Consequence, got to leave paradise, got to go to work and experience the material world. Misuse of free will. But in the case of Adam and Eve, God did not accompany them. They were abandoned. But the description of Bhagavatam and Prabhupada's philosophy is, even though we indicated to Krishna that we wanted to be independent, Krishna does not deny us. Krishna does not abandon us, because from the start, Krishna has been with us in our heart. That's why also he is your dearmost friend. He's already been with you through thick and thin, life after life, and will continue. He will never abandon us. I love this. I love this theology. I love this philosophy. This is very appealing. That yes, I made a stupid mistake. I wanted to imitate Krishna. All right. And I've been here thousands, millions, who knows how many times, how many different bodies. But Krishna has always been with us. And then we come in contact with a devotee. And it's the devotee who introduces us. Here is Krishna. Here are these books about Krishna, right, Vijay Das? That's why you go out every day. You are actually the greatest welfare worker in the whole of California. You are going out and approaching the fallen conditioned souls who woke up that day and were not thinking of anything related to Krishna, and then you give them, well, your favorite book is Gita, right? Right? Gita. And there you are, you give them the Gita, and because of your purity, and because of your expertise, and your Shakti, somehow or other, Krishna in their heart convinces them, take the book. Take the book. So they take the book, and they give you donation, right? Sometimes. And Prabhupada said if they just touch the book, they can get so much benefit. It's like you did Ratha Yatra back in, what was it, May or April? Yeah, that's April, yeah. So you did Ratha Yatra, so many people benefit. LA Temple is doing it August 7th, Venice Beach, California. Now, I want you to confirm something, because I mentioned this last night. I was told years ago that our former governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, would sometimes be at a cafe smoking a big stogie, but he would watch the Ratha Yatra parade. Have you ever heard that?
That happened 1 year.
1 year.
Wait, the next year he rode on his bicycle with all of his gear and everything, and followed. I mean, he's got his own interesting history, but he followed the Ratha Yatra cart about 6 or 7 blocks, rode around the block, came back, and followed it all the way to the boardwalk.
Jai.
So he is meant.
Yes, that is the power of Jagannath. I was telling a story last night. I was speaking at a temple last night, and there's a story I heard that I think it was Jayananda. Jayananda was the devotee who got Rath Yatra started here in San Francisco and elsewhere. So Jayananda, anyone who knew him, he was so utterly humble, so humble, that he would do the garbage run. He would go and buy the vegetables. He was driving a taxi so that there could be a temple in San Francisco. So he's working on the cart, and there's some young guy, drunk, and he's throwing empty beer bottles at the cart. I heard this story. So Jayananda's not fazed. He keeps working, and this guy keeps throwing bottles, trying to harass. Jayananda, so wonderful, takes a plate of prasadam, brings it to the man. The man is so flabbergasted and so impressed, he decides, now I'm going to help Jayananda on the cart. And that I heard that he became a devotee because of this humility of Jayananda. That, yes, Prabhu, Maharaj.
The person's name was Guru Kripa.
Guru Kripa?
He came to,
Oh my God.
came to fight with the devotees.
Wow.
Jayananda said, you look strong. Why don't you help us? Then completely tweaked it.
Oh, so that...
He knew it was 8 o'clock at night. He had 3 plates of prasad, so these people are great.
And he did so much to help Prabhupada's movement. Yes. All right. That's enough. Did you enjoy? Oh, yes, Vijay Prabhu, you have something? Yes.
I've heard this before, maybe you could speak on it. We were in the spiritual world, and we thought, well, it'd be nice to have that position, Krishna. And then, with that thought, we all came to the material world. So this person said, well, it seems like the punishment doesn't fit the crime. I mean, here we are, millions of lifetimes in the material world, struggling because we thought, of being Krishna.
So how to answer that? The answer is tough love. Yes, it must be something very serious. It must be something important, because, as I said at the beginning, God only wants love, voluntary surrender. So if that desire is there, then Krishna is neutral. Okay, I have to fulfill your desire. Like I mentioned, you want that, I will fulfill it, but not here. You have to come. Now, while we are here, so much facility is there to rectify, that word is used many times, or to regain our original position. So, it's there at any moment. We just have to become fortunate. And that is why people like you and other devotees who go out to preach, that's why I said, you're the greatest welfare workers. Because we have become entangled more and more and more. We made one mistake and then we compound it by making another mistake and another mistake and another mistake. We become entangled. But it's only by the mercy of devotees that the whole thing can be finished. And not only that, yes, it may seem like we are here millions and millions of lifetimes, but once you return, it'll seem like this. Just like in a dream. I've had dreams where it seems like it's gone on for years and years and years while I'm in the dream. And then when I wake up, it was only a dream. So it was perceived, but in reality, it was not. So once we go back, we're not going to ask Krishna, hey Krishna, come on now. How come I had to stay for 6 billion lifetimes? No. Once you go back, Hari Bol, and this whole material existence will seem like a flash, because you'll be in the world of eternity, where there's only now. That's eternity, now. No past, no future, it's just ever present. So, don't worry. Anyone who's reluctant, no. You should make it your business to go back home, back to Godhead in this lifetime. That is what Prabhupada is offering. Sometimes this movement is compared to a boat. Prabhupada is the captain. It's not the Titanic. So, the trick is, and I've said this recently, yes, ISKCON is a boat. The trick is, don't get kicked off the boat. That's the trick. In other words, what does Lord Chaitanya teach us? Stay meek and humble. Surrender at every moment and chant. So we do chanting now for 15 minutes. Balaram asked me to sing. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya. Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Gopala Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana. Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Gopala Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana. Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Gopala Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana. Hare Nama Krishna Yadava Namaha Gopal Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana Hare Nama Krishna Yadava Namaha Gopal Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana Hare Nama Krishna Yadava Namaha Gopal Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana Jai Radhe Jai Krishna Jai Vrindavana Shri Govinda Gopinatha Madana Mohana Jai Radhe Jai Krishna Jai Vrindavana Shri Gauranga Gopinatha Madan Mohana Nithai Gauranga Jaya Nithai Gauranga Nithai Gauranga Gaura Hari Gaura Hari Jai Gaura Hari Nithai Gauranga Gaura Hari Gaura Hari Gaura Hari Nithai Gauranga Gaura Hari Gaura Hari Gaura Hari Nithai Gauranga Gaura Hari Nithai Gauranga Gaura Hari Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribrajacacharya Sutra Satta Sriman His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrind Ki Jai Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrind Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Radha Giridhari Ki Jai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Hari Hari Bol. Hari Hari Bol. Hari Hari Bol. Sharira Vijja Jadandriya Tahika Jiva Tele Vishaya Shagare Tarmadya Jiva Ati Loba Moisa Dormati Take Jeta Katina Sangsare Krishna Badadaya Mai Karibaba Jiva Jai Swaprasad Anadilo Bai Senamrita Ka Radha Krishna Gunaga Premidako Chaitanya Nitai Mahaprasad Govinde Nama Brahmane Vaishnave Swapapanya Vatarajan Vishvaso Naiva Jayate Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Nama Kevalam Kalanastya Nastyeva Nastyeva Gatir Anyata. Everybody together raise your hands. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna. Come on. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. All right, last time, you all by yourselves.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
May Krishna bless you, protect you, and maintain you. Hari Hari Bol. Are we taking prasadam in here?
Yes, we
Yeah.
will